main drag, not quite to the point where it's on the beach, but there are man, I was there yesterday, 12.5 small businesses, most of them boarded up, none of them really open. But they are now under several feet of water. If that police station, which is up a little higher elevation than street level, if all of the other street level businesses are there, they're definitely underwater right now. So
hello, everybody.
Holmes Beach, Longboat Key, Anna Maria Island, the whole Anna Maria Island, not just the city of Anna Maria itself, really dealing with a lot tonight up in Manatee County.
Yeah, and the
in
chief
Orlando,
leaving us with the
well,
thought
not
that you
Orlando,
can't beat
Tampa,
Mother
excuse
Nature.
me.
Mother Nature always
Tampa's
wins.
closer to
and I
me.
think that is what is underscored here. The power of water and the inability to keep water out of our homes.
I know we were watching other streams
and roads. I mean, we can throw up those sandbags and we can put up the tarps and do all we can, but the reality is this water in this amount is impossible.
See what's going on.
Let's take you north to Pasco County along the US 19 corridor. We have some flooding in West Pasco County as well that we want to share with you. I mean, just look at that right there. I know that prior to Hurricane Helene really coming through, we had talked about the evacuations, and Pasco County was, if you're west of 19, you need to evacuate. They had the Zone A, voluntary Zone B, Zone C, and here you can see just how much water, is in that area. Again, this is West Pasco.
Yeah, these are the lives of people right here. The homes, the businesses, and it's so sad to see. We're certainly thinking about everyone out there tonight who's impacted by this or fearful that maybe their homes or businesses are impacted. Miguel Octavio has been in downtown St. Pete for us throughout the evening here. Miguel, you're perched above there, but what are you seeing? What are you hearing from your perspective?
Oh, we heard nothing.
Miguel, we can't hear you at this moment. We're working.
Hey, Cody.
I think we're going to bring.
Hey, Ricky. Oh, let me get the link up
here. Sometimes, when all of this we're going to get back to him the moment that we can get his audio. Yeah, we've seen bits and pieces of Pinellas County, St. Pete. We spoke with the public information officer for the city of St. Pete, and she spoke about the areas that they have been able to see.
Sure, Janice.
In the areas
that
they have not been able to see. Another situation where they've said, look, when it is safe to get there,
Cody, hey,
we'll
Ricky.
get there, but that's going to have to be when those waters recede, because even their high vehicles.
What we saw earlier is a long list of what.
Yeah, let's take a look at Tampa General Hospital right
during
now.
the hurricane.
A live look at it. It is surrounded by water. I mean, there is water around Tampa General Hospital. Normally there, you take a bridge to get over.
That's an island there.
And they've got a water barrier there that they installed. And
surrounded by water.
During the storm since they've had it, it has seemed to work for them. But we saw the parking garage there at Tampa General Hospital, the first floor anyway, just inundated with water. We saw at least one vehicle in the garage there that had water. I'm sure that pickup truck that we saw is totaled tonight, and I don't know how many other vehicles are there. Keep in mind that when we talk about the inability to reach people, take a county like Pinellas County, 220,000 customers, for about 40%.
I'm around the Auburndale, Winter Haven area.
That's a huge amount. I mean, almost half of the county, Pinellas
a little
County,
closer to Tampa than I am. I don't know.
Populated
it's about
counties in the state.
Orlando
is without power tonight.
Yes, I've been
you multiply that by
watching this
all the others
all day
who are without power tonight, or have water in their homes, inability to reach anybody,
laying around.
Dark. It's a tough spot to be in.
I mean, you can see, I'm looking right there as we kind of look down and look toward Tampa General Hospital, and you can see some of those very large condo buildings right there. You got 345 Bayshore right there. That's that big yellow building. And then you have an apartment complex that's kind of
very
closer
rich
to us.
people on Davis Island.
The lights down low.
But $1 million homes all the way through there
are dark.
Multi-million-dollar.
And so power is not working there.
Yeah, Tampa General Hospital, fortunately, obviously have generators, as do most hospitals. We do want to go to Aaron
Marina.
Right now. He's in Crystal River. Aaron, looks like the rain has picked up for you there.
Crystal River. That's closer
conditions
to
have changed rapidly. Dave and Courtney, I want to show you just how much this surge has come up in the past half hour or so. So this is US 19, the main stretch of road. Just an hour ago, this was all dry land. You can see several inches of water. You know, our last live shots, we were over at this closed down bar all the way down the road here. That street is now pretty much impassable, just completely filled with water. So you can see how quickly that moved. 30 minutes or so, dry road to now several inches of water on it. That's the concern moving through this area as we get earlier into this morning. Because of the levels of storm surge, we've seen it cause damage throughout Crystal River.
Oh, sorry, Ricky.
When Kings Bay starts to crest and all of this starts to happen. This is supposed to be the river walk, which is now essentially.
There you are. Now.
You just talked to
okay.
fire captain here in Crystal River. He said they're going to be really watching the next couple hours to see how high the storm.
Yeah, you can't be back there with all the roadies.
On this main thoroughfare right now, but most of the drivers on the road, at least, are going to be sheriff's deputies like the one that.
Okay, everybody let
of course, we're going to keep
people
moving,
know we're on.
already see this water.
We're showing some of the news footage here.
Well, it's amazing how quickly, and that just really underscores the unpredictability of storm surge. Sometimes you can be in an area and then, as you mentioned, about 30 minutes later, it's a very different place and a dangerous place.
I can make it full screen.
And we were expecting
definitely. We were saying,
go ahead.
We were expecting, that area to crest, and we had probably about 15-20 minutes to make our way over here. It happened probably even quicker than that this road.
You have the constant rain, the constant wind. That's what does the damage. The water erodes from the bottom. The wind erodes from the top. You have trees fall over.
And I'm really struck when I look at that, Aaron and Courtney.
Palm trees have very little,
in downtown Tampa.
Roots.
You have a current there.
I mean,
the water is moving. This is not just flood waters and you're trudging through still waters.
Where's this news station out of, Gary?
Do what?
I said, where's this news station out of?
It literally
this is out of Tampa.
This current, it seems, approaching, a main thoroughfare here through Crystal
Probably
River.
the best news station.
Well,
there.
It's important for you to stay safe tonight. We know you're taking the best precautions, using the best judgment you can. Aaron, we appreciate it. It is amazing. You see these bands of rain now, and I know that's the nature of a hurricane. You've got these outer bands that begin to rain at the strangest of times. Then it's dry. It can be sunny.
It's slinging those bands all the way up into Virginia.
And this is US 19. This is in
maybe even
Crystal
farther
River as well. So you just kind of this is where we are at this moment. But as that water kind of pushes through,
it's a perfect deal, man.
Definitely change. Yeah. And
we've record storm surges all day.
Right now, it's tight.
Again. Previous storms we've watched, I've watched Jennifer Titus have to walk from one location to another location down 19 throughout
just
storms
barely into
in
South
Crystal
Carolina.
River. This is going to be, as we started, he said it's moving.
That's the thing. They widen out.
It's going to look different.
When they tighten back up, when they get stronger, they tighten up. And
Bobby, not my husband. No, I know. There was nowhere to go. I know.
Let's hope he's not watching. Let's hope the power's out at your house.
I was almost right in my projection.
I do want to say that area
I knew it was going to hit Crystal River in that area.
Forecast was about a foot or 1 to 3 feet of water over those roads. You said that main thoroughfare?
Yes.
That's 98. That's 19. 19 turns to 98. I think that's what that is right there.
From what we were watching up in Cedar Key.
44.
I mean, Perry.
US 19 at 44.
So
what we were watching up in Perry.
Storm surge here.
Totally different from what we're seeing now live.
Right there. When we
talk
about
there
this area, we're talking about
they're in the eye, which
maybe
is
more.
Pretty much calm.
What are you thinking now when we talk about Crystal River?
And this is like 100 miles
went to
south.
10 to 15.
Okay.
And we were
I'm about 40 miles.
8 to 9 or something like that.
Where this
I told Terry you were going to come on.
As of recent,
let me look at it right now. Let me pull it up right now. I want to see what the number was. The gauge up there at Cedar Key, which is not Crystal River, but it will be similar. That went up to I picked 2 out of 3. I picked the third one. That went 7? Up to almost 8 feet.
Yeah.
So that would mean that we've been about 8 to 10 in Crystal River. And if that were the case, that means that road right there may get about a foot of water on it.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. And
maybe
we're
6 inches or so.
We're getting word here too, which we want to mention that we talked to the Holmes Beach fire chief about a fire that was burning there. We have It's in the 200 block of 76th Street.
It is a home.
It is a home. So we certainly hope everybody's okay in that home. We hope they got out.
But the firefighters cannot get to that.
Yeah, and that's the challenge.
Burning.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and again, this is one of what is there's other things happening in just so many different counties, right?
I didn't know Tommy was on.
Moving through. I know that we have video of an apartment in St. Pete with some floodwaters as well. Let's take a look at that video right there, because this is exteriors. You can see in the parking lot right there,
look at that.
A lot of water.
Stand in the water.
So up like almost a mid calf right there as she's out there taking that. This is again St. Pete. We do have Miguel Octavio.
Yeah, we finally got his microphone working there. We know it's a challenge with the rain out there, but Miguel, give us an idea from your perspective. You're perched up above. Nature. This is in downtown St. Pete.
I was out in Hurricane Helene.
People?
Well, certainly for the evening, seeing those windier conditions and that storm surge getting much worse. But we've been trying to safely report from above ground, and we've been hearing from a lot of neighbors and friends and folks we know live in those barrier islands and low-lying coastal neighborhoods. And Courtney, you used the term historic storm here earlier, and that's certainly how it feels for some of the people living in those coastal areas. It's not just about losing their homes, furniture, or businesses. It's about losing things they cannot replace. In fact, a woman was texting me. She owns a business up in Madeira Beach. It's been around for 44 years, something her own mother started. She says she's never seen flooding there before, and this is the first time water had gone in. She said she kept actually her mother's remains in that store. She has now passed away as a way to help honor her. And it's just assuming at this point, because of how much the floodwaters had gone in, that is now gone. Certainly something you can't replace. So these are sentimental things that we're talking about, people's lives. Hearing from folks around here who we kept in touch with throughout the past few years living in those coastal areas, they're saying that downstairs units, the first floor of their apartment buildings, now in waist deep water, and they're expecting to come home to that and consider this now a total loss. So we talked a lot about the dread leading up to the storm, the projections, seeing that this was going to be much worse than perhaps Hurricane Idalia. That dread has now translated to just heartbreak.
Have you noticed how
their worst nightmares are now a reality? And of course, they're not able to safely get to those islands. They're not safely to get to those homes. Hearing from people who say they've never flooded before, despite living in those areas for decades, and now seeing that water reaching to levels they've never seen before.
Each one takes on its own.
And so certainly a lot of heartbreak here tonight from people living in those vulnerable areas, and certainly first responders doing their best to make sure they can make those rescues as safely as possible. But as they mentioned, leading up to the storm, there will have a point where it's just impossible for them.
Jerry, you have some massive storm surges in Florida. There's some record-breaking stuff going on.
About 40% of residents throughout the county. We know the wind and the storm surge continues to be an issue. And for a lot of people right now, I think what's been frustrating for them is just knowing that they have belongings, homes, businesses that are damaged, and they're not able to get to that right now. So they're dreading to see what remains of their homes and businesses when it's safe to do so and return there, Courtney and Dave.
Yeah, we all sort of have a feeling of dread, I think, when daylight comes tomorrow. You know, I was thinking about this.
We won't see the full effect of anything until the morning when
shut down as a preventative measure to protect it from
how did I miss that last night?
And consequently, residents and businesses,
schools,
whatever, customers cannot do things like drain their water, take showers, do laundry, flush their toilets. Otherwise, sewage will come up into the home. And I think about these. If 40% of the counties
they got hit with those high winds, there is widespread damage.
They're not getting the message, and they may be
right together.
It's going to be using their facilities, draining their water, taking showers, doing laundry, flushing toilets, and they're not going to get the message. Which is,
like a tornado.
I know this is being put out as a
more damage.
Reverse 911.
It just scatters everywhere.
Not everybody gets those things.
Right. I mean,
and that's what we seem to forget.
We've been talking about this storm for more than a week now, and there were people who not just didn't heed the warnings, didn't get the message. I mean, I was in Publix, and someone said, "Why is the water all gone?" So there's a storm coming. Yeah. So I mean, look, yes, they know there's not. We try to communicate as much as we can, but you're right. There
are about that, Sherry.
Especially without power, definitely not getting that message. And yes,
I have been to hundreds
dread,
if not thousands.
I mean, that pit in your stomach right now
tropical
for so many
storms and
people.
hurricanes.
Let's take a look at Tampa.
And
there's a house there that we have some video of where we also
they
are
all
seeing
have they all
flooding.
have their unique
Trying to get this is
unique style
this
to
is the
each
front
one.
yard,
You know,
I think.
you remember
Where someone
Matthews,
see that.
remember
And
you know
when you, I don't know where this is in South Tampa. I don't know if it's near Bayshore.
Near MacDill
or,
Air Force Base, we're told. Yeah.
Okay.
So
what Charlie did, what
as you get
Francis
south of
did,
Candy, there are a number of neighborhoods.
4 hurricanes in 1
can't
year.
flood down that way, but a lot of these places just haven't experienced this kind of flooding.
And then we had Tropical Storm Faye that crisscrossed back and forth, went back and forth from Gulf to Atlantic about
they can damage
a half a dozen
never,
times.
I've never seen
Took
damage
2 weeks to go
before.
through.
So, again, this is
flooded everything.
South
Terrible.
around the MacDill area.
They were
MacDill Air
pumping
Force Base, and you can see the
water
just the
constantly
water and everything
into ponds and lakes.
Just storms are messing.
Filling everything. Everything was filled up to
debris into
capacity.
your critters into your neighborhood. Oil,
everywhere you look, there was
toxic
pumping.
chemicals, and you just have to.
How bad was it on you?
Like places like this, pumping excess water out,
playground,
and nowhere to go with it.
All right, we want to check in with our
How bad was your place, Terry?
where that storm is right now, and what's still to come for us. Colleen Campbell is, you're looking at the storm surge levels, right?
Oh, look at this.
So Courtney, we updated these as
I'm
of
looking.
12:30, the latest levels here, and they're record breaking. They have been record breaking for hours, and we won't officially get that report until the water recedes and the water really stops to rise. We still have water that's rising in some areas. So let me just skip off screen here so you can see these numbers. Clearwater, 6.67 feet. I mean, that's just amazing. But then
record-breaking stuff.
7-foot storm surge there. So the numbers, these will continue to rise in some locations. You see the records there, beating the records by 2 feet in some locations. And a lot of these years, you see a number of these areas. The record was just last year, but some
Can you guys hear me?
Back to 1985.
Yeah, I hear you.
Such as the state. That's what we say when that's what we mean when we say that some of these areas are not used to seeing this type of storm surge. I mean, this is a historic event for many areas, places, people that have been growing up in this region and are used to this type of weather. It looks like my clicker doesn't want to advance here, Bobby. So,
that's about 85.
So this water will continue to rise in places like Cedar Key. We didn't really get that cresting point yet. We're waiting for this red arrow, or this red line that you see here to eventually start making that curve and going back down. But we have started to see that just slightly occur in places like St. Pete. I mean, just by a little bit. So we are not clear quite yet. And then Clearwater Beach, we are starting to see that trend of the water going down, but still moderate flooding taking place. They were in that major flood zone
all the bridges
in Clearwater. So as we look at Hurricane Helene, just some stats on the storm: wind speed 140 miles per hour upon landfall, and it was moving 24 miles per hour. This was a very fast moving system, but that didn't stop it from being very, very powerful and very large. The pressure upon landfall 938 millibars, so that is a lower pressure than Ian upon landfall. So just giving you an idea there. And the lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. Currently, our winds, as Bobby mentioned earlier, our St. Petersburg gauge did go out, which that does happen, of course, when you have the winds blowing things around. Winds are anywhere from, they're still in the double digits. Sarasota up to Tampa, we have 25 mile per hour winds sustained, but then plus 40 miles per hour. So the winds are starting to improve, but we still have them coming out from the southwest. So it will be some time until we really start to see the winds die down. This is over the next few hours just for Tampa. You can see
that would be
winds
nice,
continue
Ricky.
out from the southwest
What's
over
that?
the next few hours.
Hey, Wyoming.
As we look at Hurricane
Good to have you here.
Helene, a lot of you have questions of where this is going to go next. And we have been highlighting how this area, highlighted in the pink here, that hurricane warning extends into those states that, you know, again, this is not something that you see so often, where we see these watches and warnings just extend over a large portion of the southeast. And then the storm is going to make that trend towards the west. And a lot of you have been asking that as well. Why is it not climbing up the east coast? we actually have another area of low pressure out there. This system has been steered by an area of high pressure that's been out to our east, and then an area low pressure that's out to our west. So those two areas of low pressure are actually going to kind of dance around each other, and one is going to absorb the other. And that's why you see this kind of spinning around in one circle here and not really going anywhere. But getting back to closer to home, our weather alerts, we do have a tornado watch. In fact, until 6 a.m. Of course, those outer bands, a lot of you were with us earlier when we were tracking those tornado warnings popping up left and right. The outer bands are still in our region. I want to see if I can get the radar up here. It looks like my radar might have skipped over. I think Bobby's going to get that queued up for me.
Even these people are in
we still have those outer rain bands that are moving through Clearwater. And as we've been saying, this is not really a rainfall event. This is a storm surge event, right? And that's what we have been warning about. So here's that radar right now. Again, we have that tornado watch that's still in effect until tomorrow morning. A lot of this has, of course, this nighttime. And again, these outer bands, yes, it is bringing significant rain. And we do want you to keep your phone on tonight, just in case you have to get any warning. Make sure you're sleeping with it next to your bed, especially with the conditions as bad as they are. You want to make sure you get those updates. As Dave was saying, you know, a lot of people are not getting the updates.
So we're getting bands coming across.
So if you know somebody that lives in that area, make sure you send them a text or give them a phone call, whatever you can do, and just let them know. Check in on your friends, check in on your neighbors. A lot of people were changed tonight. If we zoom in a little bit closer here, again, you can see that heavier rain still working through the area, and really this rain will be with our region for the next couple of hours. We're really not going to clear out here until we move throughout the day, Friday, throughout the morning at least. And we are waiting for those waters to recede. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to Courtney and Dave and see what updates we have.
So I'm getting very quickly that we are getting
side of the bands there.
Office, that there have been 40 people rescued from rising water along US 19. So far, 40 people rescued along US 19 in Pasco County. So that's a frightening thought that that they've had that many people rescued, and that doesn't take into account all the other people that may be in water. Okay, and this is alternate 19 at Curlew Road.
That's Palm Harbor.
This is Palm
Harbor.
I thought this was Palm Harbor.
Yeah, this is Palm Harbor.
Okay, so
David Shealy is kind of on that line when you were talking about Pasco. He's that northern Pinellas 19 area with Tarpon Springs, and he is live for us there. David, where are you now? Because you've moved all over to show us different things.
Yeah, so we returned to the sponge docks. So we are back at the sponge docks, and unfortunately, it has gotten worse here. The water has gotten higher. We ran into a couple of high schoolers who said they were bored and decided to get on some paddle boards and paddle out there. They said they have noticed multiple cars submerged. They've noticed that there are businesses that they have never seen water go into. They said there is water entering into those businesses, and that it has gotten worse out here. And some people who have been working on the boats by these docks for 30 plus years say this is the worst that they have ever seen it. And earlier today, named Marshall, who works on one of these boats, he is still on one of those boats. We just spoke to his friend who said, yeah, he's still on the boat. He can't leave. He works on the boat. He has to be on the boat. Is good.
I didn't realize it was so late.
They have turned the lights off. So it is dark. And if we didn't have the light on top of the camera, you wouldn't really be able to see anything. 11 and we won't really get a full extent of the damage here until the sun comes up.
David, for people who are familiar there, I was just out there recently with the kids. I think Daisy, I don't know if we'll be able to see it because it is dark. If she could pull out kind of the right side where it says Dolphin Cruise, there's that big dolphin statue. Yeah. There's a statue right there. There's kind of some public restrooms as well. I'm just trying to see exactly how much water
they go and dive into the big old bell diving
right there. It's definitely more than we saw.
And they go out and they gather the sponges and bring them in there to Tarpon.
Yeah, I'll step out the way and see what visuals we can give you. As you mentioned, there are a couple of statues. There is a statue of a sponger over in this area, kind of like a square part of the area. We might not be able
to do me a favor real quick. And the video that you're playing
was a city truck that was out there. That truck was just on the street. There was nobody in the truck. And maybe 2 hours ago, you could at least see the headlights of that truck. I no longer see the truck. Like I don't see the truck. So
yeah, you can
that
see
lets
like the
you know
windows
how
on the
high
top
the
of
waters
cab.
have gone.
Yeah, and it's
but that's it.
Right.
Yeah, this is
You
such a
can't tell
proud
until you
community
get out in it
and
and say,
such an
"Whoa!"
important part of the great community in our area. And we
Flooding
think
everywhere.
about
All the freaking
the waterfront
excess
right
water.
there.
Yeah, it's flooded. It's flooded
Diving
from
for the
east
cross each year
all
in
the
this
way
area.
north. The whole
And,
coastline is flooded.
This area has really been changed tonight,
I mean,
dramatically, and it's really
all day they've been
really
showing
sad to see.
how
And
it's
Bobby
being
Deskins is joining us here
inundated by
while we
water
continue to
coming
look at
up.
these
You know,
pictures. Can we
coming up
Bring
put
it back
that shot
up
back up
with
and talk to
David.
Bobby a little bit?
Yeah,
and the major roads are quite a ways away.
What's really interesting,
and they're
you know,
still underwater. Like this
records.
here, this is a
Some
ways
people have
from
not seen this
the
before, but
away
that
from
is
the
the
coast.
Anclote River on the right-hand side, and the Anclote River floods, and it's flooded quite a bit, and some really bad floods. It has not. This is not flooding from the Anclote River. This is water from Anclote Island, from the Gulf, that got pushed up into the river. So for them to say they haven't ever seen this, and to know that the Anclote floods every now and then quite a bit, and it still hasn't done it, it's saying how strong that surge was.
And we heard from Nick, who is one of the business owners that David talked to, and you were pointing out the businesses there, Dave, and he said, please, you got to, like support our businesses, and they're going to need a lot of support.
Ricky still with us?
Max velocity is spinning, so he's
and they're going to need that support because
he's not showing much.
Down for a while there.
Ricky is still here.
So that is right along the edge.
Yeah, Ricky needs a ladder, Kerry, if you don't mind.
Oh, a ladder?
No idea what's in it. It's dirty.
Oh.
It's
you didn't tell me who's off. There we go.
Often are chemicals in there. It's
I'm already here.
It's a dangerous.
It was my bad, Kerry.
I'm still rusty. I'm still rusty. I ain't been on
welcome
a
you
long
back
time.
here. We're coming up just a little after 1 morning. I'm Dave Wagner with Corey Robinson, launching 10.
I was checking on Max velocity. He's buffering.
We moved from our studio because our station
we still have
is right on the inland waters of Tampa Bay, and so when we heard that there's going to be storm surge,
I got my Twitch set up. You guys got to make sure you get your Twitch account set up.
Remote studio on higher ground here in Tampa, and we're grateful we did because we look at the water.
What you guys just thoughts on this? I mean,
how crept up at
watching
the
it
station.
from afar.
As far as we know, the water has not gotten into the building.
Something else.
There's just.
I'm in Arizona, so we get sporadic random flooding. Like we can get flooding, not as bad as that, but we can get like multiple feet of water within minutes.
Idea of
so our roads and everything is set up, washes and roads. Everything is meant to freaking dump water, get the water off the road as quick as possible.
I know there's a lot of like monsoon
there
that rushes in and catches
that's
off guard.
That's what we're using this for
Things
right
like
now
that
because that's a good barometer
this
as
is
to
the way.
what the
That's
water
about
levels
what
are
this
doing. I've got a buddy who's out on Hillsborough Avenue.
That's
right
the monsoon.
He's got about 2
water
foot of
coming
water in the bottom of his house. He's right on the marshy area right there.
I'm surprised there wasn't more rain than we actually got from it.
Yeah, and Bobby, we should mention here that is not our
really
station.
the rain.
No,
that's the back parking lot. And that's where our helicopter pad has been in the past, and is now. It used to be a live shot location for weather.
It's like a small tsunami.
Now we use it as a picnic area.
It's my lunch spot.
Yeah, it's a lunch spot, and we look out over the Mullet Pond there. Again, these are the inland waters of Tampa Bay that have now crept into our parking lot.
Yeah, just freaking floods everywhere. So yeah, it basically is. It's a miniature tsunami.
We're looking at that, but we know so many people in our community are facing much more dire circumstances.
Did he say that's where they were supposed to be?
Fearful that they've lost their homes, lost their businesses.
That's crazy.
One person lost their life on I-4 tonight when a sign fell on top of their car and killed them. The governor mentioned that's the first fatality or the first known fatality in the state of Florida tonight.
That's what happens. You think you're safe, you go out there.
Unfortunately, when we have this type of weather, we know that we hope that we won't see that, but we know that we will, and we talk to the Holmes Beach.
It's like getting struck by lightning, but still, there's that.
Talking about there's 20 people right now that are kind of in the queues of, we'll get there when it's safe, and his guys get there. They've been working for 24 hours straight, maybe. Yeah, and Yolanda with the city of St. Pete as well, saying there are some areas where they just can't get to, and it
they were showing the hospital on Davis Island. I was driving with the Bayshore Boulevard that drives along the side of it.
Police officers there protecting that.
Beautiful place.
Looting and that type of thing. We
During
do want to show you the Courtney Campbell Causeway right here.
Air Force
And there's
Base.
water over top.
And
parts of the Courtney Campbell
palm
Causeway.
tree fell behind. So in front of me.
It's hard. I know water is going.
I started back up, and a telephone pole came down behind me.
Wonder how much sand, debris, damage to the roads. These are the major
50 years ago,
connectors between Hillsborough and Pinellas County, and all the bridges are closed. So that is the Gandy Bridge, the Howard Franklin Bridge, the Courtney Campbell Causeway, and then from Pinellas County down to Manatee County, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge is closed. All these are the major.
Rick, you're not getting peaches this time. You're going to get our blue heads.
We do not have a timeline as to when these.
Try that out.
You know, all of these cameras, they help. You know, we're here in a box without windows. You know, and being able to see, just like you from home, different with our crews and with these live cameras,
we're getting to see it
just seeing exactly what things are kind of shaping
video.
Up to look like in Tampa Bay.
Let me tell you, the video does not do it justice.
You know, still looking at this right here on the Courtney Campbell. That's a lot of water on the Courtney Campbell Causeway.
The full effect of it by video.
There's been a lot of water in downtown Tampa as well. Eric Glasser has been moving around, showing us how the water has been
just like
really
the water flowing under the bridge there. You just barely
Eric, you've moved to higher ground, I see there. Where are you, and what are you seeing?
Well, Dave, we did move to higher ground. I think as we saw that there was still some storm surge left, we said, well, let's try to get back over to parts of South Tampa where we can try to look out and see what's going on, how many power outages there might be. So right now we're on top of a parking deck, about 6 stories up. That gives us an opportunity to look over Tampa. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yeah,
we can hear you. Keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Somebody just said we can't hear you, but I'm glad you can. That said, I agree with you, Dave. I'm afraid that when the water recedes and when daylight comes up, that this time we may not have gotten away so easy, right? A lot of the times when we have these storms, everybody says, wow, I think we really dodged a bullet there. And while we did not take a direct hit from
Navi, how you
my
doing?
heart goes out to the folks who are up in the northern part of the Panhandle. I think that the light of day in our area and certainly up the coast to the north, and as the waters recede, are going to reveal quite a bit of damage in our area. That's the sense that I get this evening when I look out over where we are now from the spots that we've been throughout the day. When I was just over on
all right,
140-mile-an-hour winds. There's got to be a lot of damage out
issues
there.
with your microphone. We apologize to interrupt you here,
of course,
but
it was in the
difficult
water
to hear. That's one of the things that
the main damage.
It's the static.
We get it.
Water
and microphones don't always mix.
From
We do have some
Crystal
video
River up and
that
around
you
the
sent us from
bend,
downtown
that
Tampa.
area there.
Let's take a look at that while you work on your microphone there.
The other's more
he's really been all over South Tampa. He,
wonderful job.
We've seen him on Bayshore. He went over to the west side where we could see. He couldn't make it over West Shore because it's just a mess. It's nasty. But Manhattan, even with the water rising there, and then we have downtown Tampa.
Yeah, Bayshore near Tampa
there
General
you
Hospital.
go.
This is what he's been showing us here.
Right. So that's Ashley and Bro Rain.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's where that is.
Yeah, I believe you're right. And
the
road was closed off.
navigate around all
barriers
that?
that were up, but those barriers were no match for the floodwaters.
He's out there
especially
trying
the
to
moving floodwaters.
drive
We
through
saw a
it.
number of these vehicles trying to come through.
Large vehicles.
Why?
Large vehicals, sometimes higher profile
look at
vehicles,
the wind whip
or
that.
at least their tires.
Look at it whip the
got
mist
them
across
above the water.
The water.
But boy, this water has risen a lot throughout the night. Obviously, this is.
What if the pavement's gone there?
I can't tell who that is. If that's a. Maybe,
no
I
kidding.
thought I saw a little.
That's the thing,
City worker.
you don't know what's going on at the bottom.
When Eric was out here earlier, and this was recorded, Eric mentioned that they were trying to set those barriers right to make sure that people, didn't, right there, like that one right there, so people didn't try to come down and be able to get through and through the water. So this was, this was a little bit ago when he recorded this. Eric and his photographer Ish were able to kind of get this video. So
I don't know.
It could look.
Look at that.
Much worse in that area now because I think it's
Well,
been Eric said, we're here on the
water,
Riverwalk.
picking it up
The
and
Riverwalk has
blowing
become
it.
the river. Then he moved to the other side and along Bayshore. Bayshore
Think about that.
Yeah, and that's the nature of these storms. They just
And that guy's walking out in
constantly evolving, and not. So we want to go over to Park Boulevard and Oakhurst Road. I understand right now, where there are some issues there. There is a signal down, I believe, a light out down that way.
I can't see.
Don't run that red light.
The traffic light that's hanging down. Not at all surprising given the wind and some of the strong winds that we had. Bobby, we had winds in this area, Park Boulevard, Oakhurst Road, that area, probably of what, 60, 70 mile an hour winds at times?
40s and 50s for steady wind.
Right, but
gusts in the 70s.
Okay, gotcha. So,
lower 70s.
So it's not surprising you may see traffic lights, this kind of stuff down in an area like this, given the winds. But we've certainly had tropical storm force winds in this area.
Drive down the road, roll your window down,
not had that.
stick your hand out at about 40 miles an hour.
A storm surge.
Now think about this.
Just took it.
It's not going out on a limb. To
riding down the road, stick your hand out of the window doing 40 miles an hour. What is your hand doing?
We have not seen the we haven't seen anything.
It's getting hit by all the hail, and then you look at your hand, and your hand's all mushy.
I know that when we had Idalia, one of the things that
that's what
Bobby talked to this.
This is doing to everything.
Took a little comfort in is that the areas where
that car
Idalia
window,
made landfall, right, it wasn't very populated. There's certainly people who have homes in Steenhatchee and some, and along the water
one thing
there.
about the Science Center down here, they have exhibits that show you what these things do and how it
Tampa. But
that you
now,
can go into
as it's come on and the width
different
of
wind
that,
speeds,
Bobby,
that it
does that look different? Especially when
you
we look
feel
talk about Tallahassee,
what you go
right there,
through
and there's
in
other
this
areas.
type
I mean,
thing.
it's not Idalia. It's a different storm.
It was the you're talking about the diameter of
they
the eye.
really open your eye.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Yes,
because the area that it went in was still very rural.
Can do and the potential that they have
really got lucky.
Doing it,
Okay.
Because you probably had 80 to 90, almost 100 mile per hour winds on the right side of the eye, and you had 50s.
Okay.
And gusts in the 60s on the left side of the eye when it went onshore. And that 50s and 60s, which I haven't even seen that much, but that was Tallahassee. What I saw in Tallahassee was gusts in the 40s.
Okay.
So they got really
still
lucky.
that one area, because you showed it. You showed that eye wall.
Yep. Going up on that eastern side, up there where it made landfall.
That's an eerie feeling when that eye wall passes.
And you think,
it's pretty quiet.
When we look at that, and we talk about the response
wind in it, but not much.
and different
quiet.
responses to the need in so many communities.
And then it turns and goes the opposite direction.
In the Panhandle.
Wind changes direction.
And then the need with rescues.
You might be getting it from the front of you, and when it goes through, it's at the back of you.
They're going on.
And it's the same thing all over again.
The Holmes Beach police chief said he came on at 2 a.m.
Yeah, there are the immediate concerns: rescuing people, making sure people survive this storm.
Right.
And then there are the long-term concerns. When I talked to Jimmy Petronas this week, the CFO of the state, I asked him about the fragile nature of insurance companies in this state. A lot of folks have citizens insurance, and then they have been trying to shed policies to some of these new companies. And I asked him whether or not these new companies are going to be able to pay out in the event of a big storm like this. And he said that, yes, they're able to.
Ricky.
They should be able to.
Yeah.
And the state will hold them accountable.
They got you a new jar.
See,
it's not going to be peaches this time, though.
Claims are filed by some folks.
Oh, man.
They may get a fraction of
Don't worry, the next one will be peaches.
Caused. And, and that's the challenge of these kind of storms. You're at the mercy to a certain extent.
Unless I can find,
and there are going to be, in our area, people who've never
driving
made a
around,
claim before that
they
are
are
now
a potential victim.
those claims.
And that's the frustration that people talk about with insurance companies. It's like, I paid my insurance the whole time.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're not going to reimburse me for all this damage, or they drop me, or they raise my rates. And
they say, where's the police?
That's
Where's
the
the
ongoing
fire
challenge that people
department?
have. I
They're
don't
like
think it's a
us,
stretch to say there's an insurance crisis in this state. The
They're
legislature
putting their life in danger
tried to
every time
address
they
some of
go
these
out in
concerns,
it.
but people are still really concerned. And when you have an event like this, this really makes people even more
Well,
worried about the insurance market in the state of Florida.
I want to show you what we're seeing right now in Hernando County. Our crew's up there as well. Hannah Deneen is up in Hernando County with Rob, and you can see the tree down right here. This is in Spring Hill. This is blocking part of Wabash Trail. So if you're familiar with that area, again, these are some of the things that you'll run into, right? If you were to choose to be out driving, go down a road that you say, oh, there's no water. Well, there's going to be water. There's going to be a tree down. There could be a traffic light down. So many other things. This tree blocking that whole thing. And
when
of course,
Charlie came
right
there,
the power lines.
Not just like that. They were
so another complication. There's Hannah.
Yeah, and I want to say our crews have done a really good job moving around from location to location because the situation has changed. They learn of new things. Hannah, you've done a terrific job of taking us around Hernando County. You are live
mostly looks like
right now.
You know.
I'm in Wikiwachi, Dave, and I just spoke with a deputy here who described the trees from earlier, like you were describing, falling out of the sky like grenades. He said they were pulling tree limbs and having to have utility crews come out and clear these full trees for hours throughout this evening, and they're continuing to do so tonight. Now, earlier this evening, I was on Hernando Beach where we saw the water rise rapidly. If you're familiar with Hernando County, you know that there are very few roads in and out of the beach area, and they're all prone to flooding, which is why we had to leave that area. And now you can see right here, this is Cortez Boulevard, one of those few roads that leads to Hernando Beach and the most coastal region of Hernando County. This roadway is now blocked off. They have a roadblock here and they are not letting anyone through, even if they live down this way. We have seen some cars get turned around this evening. The officers here tell me that's because of the combination of storm surge. Parts of Cortez Boulevard right now are seeing that flooding, as well as trees, even power lines in the roadway. He said that there is no one going to be moving by them, regardless, again, of proof
Is this
of
your
address.
backyard then,
Now,
Kerry?
the emergency management deputy director here in Hernando County, we spoke with her within the last few hours. She tells us
I didn't hear you now.
here in Hernando
Is this
County,
round where you
they
live?
have not had to have any
Yes,
emergency
we have
rescues.
bands going
It's a
over
very
top
different
of us right now.
situation just south of us in Pasco County, though, where we've now learned there have been at
No, they
least
came over to see what
40
you're up to anyway. I'll just say
in
hello
Pasco
and I'll get off, yeah? I'll
County.
see you
They are
chat, yeah?
continuing to work to make sure that everyone in their county is
I'll
safe.
catch you in chat.
But here in Hernando County, they are making sure that no one can get to
I'll
harm's
say-
way
I'll say
anymore,
when they bring the map
blocking
up.
off this pathway to
just
the
to the
flooded region of
little bit
Hernando Beach,
northeast of
as well as the
Tampa.
other outlets to get to the most coastal region, where
About
we know
50
there is going
miles
to be significant storm surge overnight. In Hernando County, Hannah Deneen,
from where this
10
is
Tampa
going
Bay.
on right now. Well,
Makes you
Wikiwachi
wonder,
is farther north.
when the light of day comes. Driving down US 19,
That's where the
all these
mermaids are.
major roads
We
that
may even have
tonight,
some of the doggone line.
the bridges are all closed.
What about
What's
the
that going to
mermaids
look like
Wikiwachi?
tomorrow when people are driving? I mean, people are assuming maybe I'm going to work, maybe I'm not. What am I supposed to do? Maybe I need to get out to the grocery store, get gas, those type of things. I would imagine this is going to be a real challenge, Hannah, for an awful lot of people tomorrow.
No gas.
Certainly,
no
Dave, and we've been driving around a bit tonight carefully, but we can certainly attest to what this deputy is telling us that he's been seeing as well, which is a lot of limbs in the roadway. And we do know utility crews have been working throughout the evening. They'll be working overnight to make sure that those trees, everything is cleared from the roadways, making sure that they are passable. But this is going to be a heavy lift, quite literally. There's a lot of debris in these roadways from those strong winds that we saw blow through here. And needless to say, we haven't even seen the worst of the flooding.
What was really funny after Charlie,
for people, for those who may be listening,
there was everybody had a trailer that took plywood and made it about 8 foot high.
These pilots, the Tampa Bay Harbor pilots, bring ships in and out of port. Their last, they brought out their last ship.
But the tree limbs and everything.
I think it was yesterday morning at 6 a.m. So what that means, there are no tankers, no fuel tankers, none of these gasoline tankers coming into Port Tampa until at least Saturday. It could be longer than that. And that's a lot of gasoline.
That was only 90-mile-an-hour wind
coming into Port Tampa. So there is the potential there is the potential anyway
We're talking about
of fuel
50-mile-an-hour
shortages in our area. Now,
higher
I'm sure
winds
the
up
state
there.
will do their best to try to get fuel into
There's
this
going to be
area.
a lot of tree damage.
You know, if you haven't filled up your car, if you need fuel in your car, it might be a good idea to do that sooner than later.
And that, well, I mean, and also that's going to depend on if the workers at the gas station can get to work.
That's a good point.
We don't know exactly where things are going to be. Hannah, thank you so much for showing us what you're seeing in Hernando. I know that the deputy director who you referenced, Erin Thomas, she said, look, we're glad that they haven't had the rescues or that we've seen in other areas as of when we spoke with Erin. So we hope that doesn't happen in Hernando County. But we are seeing the reality of that playing out right now in some of the county, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Sarasota, Manatee, and then all the way Lee County, Charlotte County, you know.
All the way down.
I know when you and
all
I
the
were
way
down
down.
After Hurricane Ian, you know, one of the concerns is, you know, obviously you have debris that gets into the water, you have oil, you have chemicals and all that, but you also have these down power lines. And that's a real concern and should be in the coming days for anyone who's getting out there. Think about that. I mean, you just don't know which power lines are live and which ones aren't. So, you know, make sure you protect yourself if you're out there wandering around, looking around your property. You really just don't know what you might run into. So play it safe, be careful, and just, you know, don't take chances. It's just not worth it.
As we talk through some of these things, let's bring up some of these live shots that we have. Ben T. Davis, that was an area where we saw Eric Glasser
where I am
earlier on Thursday afternoon, and you're looking at that live right now. Bobby, it was at one point something that you brought up as well when we were looking over here, and just, you know, it's difficult to kind of see, but we do know that there's there's a light signal that's kind of flashing over there. We've seen the transformers blowing out.
You see the bands come up through.
It's difficult to kind
of
trying to
it's difficult to differentiate when you look at this shot from the Courtney Campbell Causeway and Ben T. Davis Beach. What's what? Because there seems to be so much sand. That's what it looks like anyway. It's hard to tell in the darkness of the night here, but
that is likely sand.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it just sand was, and that makes you wonder. It's like, how long will it take to remove that sand tomorrow? So, you know, is the Courtney Campbell Causeway, you know, out of the picture tomorrow?
Is that Raymond James that we see?
That's
kind of looks like
Courtney Campbell Causeway.
Is that Raymond James?
Looks
Okay.
like it's
flashing
I'm just trying to give a bearing of what
you
people
are
are
looking
seeing.
there, and you're looking over to the right. That should be what Tampa.
That's
Tampa International Airport,
Clearwater Beach, Rocky Point area, right there on the right.
Rocky Point.
You're looking up towards Tampa, downtown on the right, behind the oyster catchers to the right.
Looking east, and that should be Tampa International Airport over there to the right. And
we were getting, you know, video that was being sent in from that Rocky Point area, where we saw earlier. I think, you know, we showed that video of what would be a very normal high tide that was actually low tide, and then I received another piece of video. I think we're getting ready to turn that around, where it was that you could barely see the top of that fence.
Yes.
You could barely see that. We also have pictures of the Manatee River
all
storm
the street
surge
lights
flooding
are out there too.
that we can share with you along Barcarata Boulevard. Look at that right there.
Barracuda.
This is right next to Pier 22, we're told here. So, you see boats out there, you know, and it's really, I tell you, it is very difficult to tell you. It's like, okay, where are the boats supposed to be? Where are the cars supposed to be? There doesn't seem to be much difference between where the boats are and the cars are in some ways.
We saw some of those boats, right, that had already been kind of unmoored, pushed up, and just really being, you know, beaten against by the wind, by that surge as well. That was just a couple that we've seen,
bouncing everywhere,
as we start to be able to go out onto the islands. We're going to see more of that. I'm sure a lot more of that.
And the recurring theme already is we've never seen water this high. I've never seen water this high. No, you haven't. These are record high levels here.
I guess
some can go back to 1921, and then I think it was 1848 or 1890. I can't remember which one. We had
75
hurricanes, but the Tarpon Springs hurricane was in 1921. That was really bad. Those records are a little sketchy. And the thing about that is we had half the population, if that. back in 1921. So what you're seeing out here now, and you're going to hear a lot of people say it, yes, you have not ever seen this much water.
Yeah, and I think it underscores when people say, I survived a hurricane, so therefore I can survive it again, or my house did fine in a hurricane. But you see that houses that have done fine in hurricanes for 40, 50, maybe 100 years are now inundated with water. So that's what's happening here. However you want to refer to the changes we're seeing, some might refer to it as climate change, and others might not want to view it that way. But the bottom line is we're seeing storms that are hitting areas that have not hit.
In 75 years, I've seen it one time.
That is a frightening thing. We also want to talk about one of the things that we haven't seen, which is the sewage plant, the Northeast sewage plant,
underwater.
Sewage treatment plant. That's in St. Petersburg, and they took it offline because they were fearful that storm surge would damage the electronics of that building, and as a result, that's causing
sacrificed a couple days, right? Yeah. They said versus what would have been a very long time.
Sure, and it's creating major complications for folks, and we can talk about some of the things it's doing. But residents and businesses, this is north of 30th Avenue North and east of I-275 Haynes Road area. That sewage treatment plant there is offline. So it's going to take at least 48 hours, at least. They're not sure because they've not done this before to resume operations. So during that time, you should not make sure your drinking water is okay, but you cannot drain your water. You can't take showers. You can't do laundry. You can't flush toilets, or that sewage will come up into your home, we're told.
Yeah, that's bad.
What an awful thing to think about. This affects maybe 70,000 people or more.
Yeah,
and not people, but customers.
If you have a septic tank,
businesses, residential areas, just a whole lot of folks.
Yeah,
if you're kind of waking up right now to kind of check in on things, about 1:30 in the morning on Friday, Courtney Robinson alongside Dave Wagner here on 10 Tampa Bay. We're kind of popping around and seeing what's happening. We were talking about the Northeast sewage treatment plant being taken offline. Also, good advice in general after a major storm to not flush the toilets, do the laundry, all of these same things, because you don't know what's been damaged, what's working, what's not. You got that drinking water reason, you went to Publix, you loaded up, you got that use that for drinking water.
Just don't
and all
pee.
The other stuff, maybe filled up the bathtubs.
Yep, take a beat there. And I just wanted to mention here, when we talked to Yolanda Fernandez, who's one of the spokespeople for the city of St. Pete, she said they will let people know by the reverse 911 system when it is safe to do the things you normally do in your house, like draining your water, taking showers, doing the laundry, flushing the toilets. They'll let those people know, but
keep pointed out though that
but there are a lot of
people without it.
A lot of people don't have power. A lot of people aren't seeing that, aren't hearing the warning.
So let your neighbors know.
Yeah, please pass the word around, because it's going to cause a major problem. We're looking at Crystal River here.
I've noticed that a lot. A lot of people
US 19 right there.
Take their cell phone all the way down to the water.
Major artery right
now.
They
charge.
You see the people that are like, oh, you flush your toilet and all your poop comes flooding back. It's like you should have things like, not for me.
I believe so.
Look at it flowing.
Oh,
yeah, now it's
it's not just sitting there flowing. The wind's still going pretty good up there. But the forecast models for this had about, we were saying about 1 to 3 feet. And I was saying maybe give it 1 to 2. When it was just wet, it wasn't covered. But there it is. And the forecast also said right through the heart of Crystal River and north of town and south of town.
So the lives of all these business people, the lives of all the homeowners, they've been changed dramatically after the storm. When they've talked about the amount of damage, I mean, without a doubt, insurance claims they've estimated will be in the millions of dollars from this storm. So as Bobby mentioned, this is probably normally when there's a storm of this magnitude, they will retire the name. And Bobby, pretty guesses and there's a good guess that probably will retire the name after this.
So Aaron Parsegian has been in Crystal River for us. I think he's probably having to be moved, and kind of as we talk about that water coming in. Chris Hurst live for us there in Venice. I think he was just up. Chris, you and Tim have been moving all around, seeing different things in that, southern Sarasota area. What do you got for us right now? What are you seeing? What's changed?
Well, Courtney and Dave, just like Hannah was telling you guys earlier, that they had to be pushed out of some of the hardest hit areas of Hernando Beach. That really is the area that we're trying to get to, but right now cut off in Sarasota and also in Manatee County, those barrier islands. So, excuse me, we are here in Venice at the boat ramp at the Intercoastal Waterway. Just to show you that, one, the water still is moving, being pushed by the wind, which actually has picked up a little bit just in the last 15 minutes as some of those bands of heavy rain and wind continue to whip around. We aren't quite done
with the wind and rain yet here in southern
Sarasota County, but you can tell, there is a seawall down there by where that bench is, and the water is still over that seawall. There's docks right here, and we have definitely, at least a foot and a half, 2 feet of water here that's over the seawall. But we have been noticing that the water is starting to recede in some places. Now, if the water got pushed over into your neighborhood and has no way of draining out, then certainly that water could be pooling and standing there for quite a while. But if there is a natural egress point for the Gulf to take itself back into the Gulf of Mexico, that seems to be starting right here, at least in southern Sarasota County, and maybe also for parts in northern Sarasota County as well. The tide's not really going to be in our favor until tomorrow. They're not really going to go down on their own with the help of the moon later on overnight tonight. And so, again, just like so many of us, even including first responders we talked to, like the police chief in Holmes Beach, there is no way for us to get to those that seem to be in the most distress right now. We talked to a Venice police officer when we were at our last location that was closer to Venice Beach, Courtney and Dave. And I said, how's the call volume right now? And he said, it's actually Florida, kind of quieting down a little bit, at least for the ones that they can actually get to. We don't have to keep in a queue for rescues sometime when the time is right. That there was a flurry of activity from about, I'd say, 8 o'clock, well past midnight. That now finally in the 1 o'clock hour, part of the water here in Venice is starting to recede, and some of the call volume is starting to lighten up.
Especially that's
dark
good
like
news. Again, a lot of the damage.
You don't know where the road is and where the ditch is.
Still some people who are waiting.
Yeah, my neighbor's checking in on his.
Aaron Parsons in Crystal River.
My new neighbor owns property up in Florida.
So
as soon as he got here, he's like, "Man, I'm happy I got out of that dang storm." Calming down, perhaps just a bit. What are you seeing up there in Crystal River?
Yeah, it's
the exact opposite here in Crystal River, Dave. We've seen the flooding get substantially worse in just the past 30 minutes to an hour. I'm standing in the middle of US 19. It's now been shut down by Citrus County deputies because you can see rushing water through the roads here, at least a few inches. And if we look back in the distance here, this was Citrus Avenue. This is where those businesses were that were all boarded up, sandbagged up. That tavern that's a popular spot here in downtown Crystal River. That was completely dry an hour ago. That gives you an idea of how quick this water, when that surge started to come out of Kings Bay in the back over there, started to move. There was no water over there, and now it's a rushing river almost all throughout Citrus County, this western part of Citrus County, west of US 19. As I mentioned, deputies just shut down this area. We're also going to have to be moving soon because of how much water is coming down.
This is 100 miles south,
both ways of the road. If we point over here, you can see how quick that water is moving as well, piling up in all these surrounding areas here in Crystal River tonight.
Of this joker.
Aaron, we'd hope that perhaps things might be improving a little bit, at least in terms of the water receding, but it goes to show, I mean, the prediction was that the surge would be higher up
and
there.
that water goes off and
it appears that surge
gets where it don't drain and becomes stagnant.
What is low? Do you know low tide up there in Crystal River? Not that it'll make perhaps a huge difference, but do you know what time is low tide, Bobby? Hang on just a second. Let's just keep Aaron here for a second. Aaron, we're checking with Bobby Deskins on what the low tide might be and when folks might see some relief.
Dave, let me add a little perspective here, Dave and Courtney, because we were here for Hurricane Debbie just over a month ago.
Right.
There was some storm surge and flooding in this area as well on Citrus Avenue, though, where there was water piled up in the road over there, we never saw it kind of rushing all the way across US 19 as it's doing now, and starting to get deeper and deeper now, early this morning.
Yeah. Bobby,
Hey,
were you able to find that yet?
Yeah, so we have a high tide coming up at 4:02 a.m. there. All right. And that's going to go about a half a foot more than what it is right now.
Okay.
Just the tide, right? Then we get a low tide, and we get a low tide pretty quickly, 7 a.m.
Oh, good.
It literally drops less than 2 inches, 3 inches. And then it goes back up almost another foot for a high tide at noon tomorrow, 12:30 tomorrow.
But by then the surge should be gone.
But what's happening is, and this is happening everywhere, it's prolonging that water sitting
worsens
because the tide's working against it. The wind will actually drop, and the water will come down from the wind before the tide takes it out.
All right, so Aaron, perhaps you heard Bobby there. Yeah, it's going to be up and down in terms of tides. It'd be a high tide at 4 something, and then
it'll recede off
low tide
where they are
7
there,
something,
but
and then
not much
in the low-lying areas where it gathers,
there. So
it'll get worse.
Are you surprised, Bobby, by what you're seeing? What Aaron is reporting there, which is it's getting
those areas drain back out to the ocean, I'm guessing.
No, that's what we expected up there. We were thinking 10 to 2. 10 o'clock in the Tampa Bay area, and 2 o'clock up there. And we're just about there right now. The center, guys, look at this.
It's already
look at the eye over South Georgia. Waycross, Georgia is right about there.
It's kind of staying intact, too.
It's staying intact.
It's still a hurricane.
Warm. It's muggy. The ground was very wet out ahead of it. So it's not sensing much of an issue. I mean, it's weakening a little bit. It's down to 110-mile-per-hour winds.
In the middle of Georgia.
Over southwest Georgia.
In the middle
Southwest
of Georgia.
I mean, that's just blowing my mind. 950 millibars. But look at the movement now at 26 miles per hour to the northeast. So it's really moving. And so what's happening is you have these winds that have been blowing the water up there, really kind of getting all of that push and the tide coming up. And that's what Aaron's seeing up there. And that tide literally goes something like this, goes up,
90-mile-an-hour winds
goes up again.
in Charlotte.
That's what's happening between now and noon tomorrow, or today, technically, right? The one thing that they have going for them is that the higher winds will be drifting off to the north with the bottom of that storm. So, yeah, this is about what's expected. I got to be honest with you.
Interstate 20.
The midnight numbers we have for some of the surges in the Tampa Bay area, many of those we're still not cresting. But I think we've gotten there now. Between 1 o'clock and now, I think a lot of it has been cresting. I hope that's the case. But it's going to be tough to tell because it's not going down real quick.
Right.
All right. And that's going to be the issue through the next 3 to 4 hours.
And apologize on the phone, but I was trying to figure. I'm hearing from people who are over off West Shore, south of Gandy, and there's water in everybody's homes there. And that
usually they break down.
These are areas where it's built up a little bit. You don't really see that. Again, Bobby, I know you said we never see this. What's that?
Pula Bay area over that way?
Yeah, over in that area. And there's a lot, and not just, one person, but everybody has water in their home. So now everybody's awake right now, right? It's 1:40 in the morning. They've got the water in their homes, and it is. There's so little that you can do.
Well, you're helpless.
You're helpless.
Look out, people up there.
To keep it back, and we try the best we can to stop Mother Nature from inundating us. But we and I also
it can hold that all the way up to South Carolina.
We'll take a look at this now.
Yeah, this is some of that video that just came in. So our team is really turning these things around quickly. Look at that right there.
This is West Shore around where is this?
So this is
south of Gandy?
So this is south of Gandy.
Yeah.
This is looking at West
That's
Shore.
That's a major road.
From
West Shore Boulevard.
From the water,
that is
right?
A major
from the West
road
Shore Yacht
right
Club
there.
as you're driving down. So you can see these, this is outside of the yacht club. So you're looking at homes, and I have another video too. I think they're working on it. These are homes that are down West Shore. And these are homes that are one-story. You've got a mix of homes.
Yeah.
These are not mansions.
There's new development, and then there's older homes that are there.
South Tampa, and this is south of Gandy. These homes, and there's just water, so much water there, and you can kind of look. I know when I was driving down West Shore, earlier, and this was north of.
That's the main road to Tampa International Airport
really
from the
taken a
south.
lot of effort to to sandbag, to try and do what they can, and I'm sure the same. And people had left, so I'm sure that the same is true here. But it's just heartbreaking. Every single community, no matter what that community is, impacted by this, and there's so many different levels of that we're going to see, and as we've said, it's a loss on different, a loss if you're on Anna Maria Island in a different capacity, a loss if you're, in South Tampa on a different capacity, a loss if you're in Pasco County. Just
you're stuck.
Either way, no one has escaped.
I mean, these homes become our refuge. They become our comfort place. And the
everybody lives on those islands. Everybody lives in that area.
People are going to be out of a home for a good while here.
Basically stuck
a lot of folks just
in one place for at least
that they're seeing right now.
The next couple of days.
So we're going to take a look at Treasure Island if we can right now. And Treasure Island, obviously, over
that's what they say. Like here, and they go 10 miles, go 20 miles. Don't go a long distance away. Just
on the left side, so you
get away from the affected area.
Yeah, and I can't tell for sure.
Which looks like, from what I'm seeing here, about a 20-mile.
Make out that sign there, but
20
Treasure
miles
Island, obviously,
to
pretty big,
to the east of the
pretty
coast
big area, a really popular area, and
is
right
all
on the Gulf of
affected.
Mexico, of course. So you can see that this area is really taking a hit tonight.
And that water, we're seeing a picture of this. That water's moving,
right?
So
and we've seen that, on Gulf Boulevard and other places too.
Yeah, not only prepare for the end of time, prepare
really
for this.
looks like a river. It's very difficult to tell.
That's the Gulf of Mexico,
right?
Yeah, we have things all over the world, like flash floods and tornadoes and disasters, that.
It's so much. It's such high water.
Some of them compare, some of them don't, but it's all.
Okay, so we have some flooding video that's coming in now from Pinellas and Sarasota. This is
we don't think
earlier,
about stuff like this,
This is not right now. Oh, okay. So this is earlier. This was like if you're going toward St. Pete from Tampa on the Gandy Bridge. This is
it
now
tonight.
Yep. Before or after.
And it's closed. All
it's
the bridges
closed. Yeah, that water.
All the major bridges are closed.
The water's all the way up to the.
And that's going to be
right there,
really
like
a complicating problem for folks tomorrow. So
is this the Howard Franklin? No.
It's so hard.
That looks like the causeway to Clearwater there.
That's the Howard Franklin based on the construction.
Oh, that's the Howard. That's the Howard Franklin. That's
the water lapping over. And this is Howard Franklin.
We're building
tonight.
a new
Gandy
bridge alongside the old bridge.
Courtney Campbell Causeway closed.
Courtney Campbell,
and there we go. I mean, it's and what
that's the Courtney Campbell.
Yeah,
that's the Courtney. I mean, based on what we showed earlier, that has to be the Courtney Campbell, and you can just
look at the waves coming in.
And look at that water moving there, and the Sunshine Skyway closed as well. So again, just to reiterate here, we do not have a timeline because we haven't been given that when those bridges might reopen. Obviously, if you have to make sure it's safe, inspect them, make sure there's no damage, get the sand off some of these bridges. It's a monumental undertaking, and
inspections too.
Right, you have to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, which we've seen they get in and they do things very, very quickly. But I think so much about the resources for our state as well, and when we see this, it's okay. It's Southwest Florida. It's this one Big Bend area, and this is now just.
It's such a massive area.
Coast.
That's the challenge with
it.
Yep, absolutely.
It's affecting the whole state,
let's take a quick
whole
look
Gulf
at
Coast. That's the problem.
We have a live picture from Tierra Verde right now.
This has never happened
the
before.
Southern tip of Pinellas County right here. This is the roundabout. It's as you're heading down toward. So this is looking, I believe, south here. That's the 7-Eleven on your right there, and as you go south, you go out toward Fort DeSoto.
Everybody still with me, Ricky? Terry?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a pretty vulnerable area in
Say
the
something.
sense it's a strip of land out there that's fairly
I'm
narrow.
gonna
And
listen
it takes
to
you out
them.
to Fort DeSoto. I'll be curious to see what Fort DeSoto looks
I
like.
know it's pretty interesting. All the stuff that they're bringing out.
Right now, it looks like it's at least dry right there. We don't know about some of the side streets off the
video in the back
Bayway here.
powers our voice.
But we'll find out tomorrow.
And Bobby Deskins, we have you here. One of the things, there's every community was taking so many efforts to make sure that water had places to drain.
No, South Carolina.
As much as it could. You said
you're out of the tornado stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going to take several hours because to me it looked like that shot of Tierra Verde might have seen some of the water come down just a little bit. But we were just looking back over the TV station again, using that kind of as a barometer, and it has not really come down much. I've got friends who got water, and they're saying it's not coming down much. I wanted to just show you this.
You pretty much passed all that tornado stuff, right?
Top screen.
Huh?
Screen.
Do you hear me, Kerry?
Okay.
I can hear you, Ricky.
Of rotation. That's where our water spout is located, moving northwest.
Yeah, you pretty much passed all the tornado threat, right?
I went to Hilton Head Island before.
No, not really.
Disney Resort.
We should have watched till tomorrow.
All right.
Every band has the potential of tornadoes.
Oh yeah.
You see if I get these headphones on, see if I hear better.
1 a.m. National Hurricane Center update.
It's just when you play your videos, if you can, cut the volume by 50%.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing an update yet. I don't know if they're doing a 1 a.m. update. Let me check.
Don't work.
All right, they do have a new 1 a.m. update. It is back down to a Category 2 hurricane.
And it's probably going to be a little bit more than
it fell down pretty quickly. It's down to a Category 2 hurricane now. I'm not changing the thumbnail at this point because, I mean, we're not going to be live that much longer, but it is back down to a Cat 2. 110 mile per hour maximum sustained winds.
It didn't go in. It just went straight up and it just dragged that water, pushed up along out the entire coastline. That really adds up to talking about damage numbers.
After the stream, I was going to.
So that's all the way.
I'm sad.
It's a doozy, that's for sure. You can see this is left of the radar.
That is all the way.
Generally, we will keep some of these showers with us. Light rain
all the way into South Carolina.
But some areas could get a little bit of a good downpour and pile up a little bit of water. All in all, again, we were saying about 3 to 6
Hilton Head Island getting hit
end up with like
big time.
3, with some spots right along the media coast closer to 4 inches
so
of rainfall. But look at this.
We're talking about
now it's overland.
Major destruction all the way through Georgia.
To fill in when it gets in Georgia.
And the
so
Carolinas.
Really just an amazing way that this thing has continued to drift off, or not even drift, it's moving to the north-northeast at 26 miles per hour. That's a lot of speed. And you can see it's moving further up to the north into South Carolina. So what happens when it gets into the mountains here of North Carolina, it goes up one side of the mountain, squeezes out a lot of orographic lifting. So you got a mountain right here, and you run
the wind up, and
it goes up, it squeezes out moisture,
Much
makes it rain. Not only tropical moisture.
Well, you're echoing. I don't know why you're echoing, though.
The orographic lifting, the geographic lifting that occurs there, all kinds of crazy rain amounts up here. Much more rain.
Look at it pulling all those bands in from up at the top under radar,
or what we
have up in the ocean, up into Washington.
Incredible amounts of flooding. You're going to see
probably up in Jerry's area, pulling that across.
Water rescues. You're going to be seeing that up
all the way across to them.
Just an incredible storm.
Just about where the time is on that radar bar.
Coming in this morning, it was sunny. It was driving in about 10 o'clock this morning. It was sunny in Tampa, and what's transpired since then is just amazing.
Yeah, it was sunny this afternoon. It was crazy.
The north, it will start a little turn more towards the north and the northwest, and continue to weaken. That is the good news. Obviously it's over land. That tends to be what happens. Of course, you saw the landfall was right in there. Auxiliary River, right at the river mouth there. It's about 10 miles west-southwest of Perry, and just a little bit of rain left over for those folks right now. The heavier rain now, there's the
Perry is a beautiful old town,
Rebecca, Georgia,
beautiful
McRae,
place.
just south of there.
It's a crossroads for everything in Florida. Everything goes to Perry.
I think within the next couple of hours, it will start that turn more towards the north, but that takes it on a beeline straight for Atlanta. What is that one doing? That shouldn't be in there. But this is going to be bringing our winds down slowly because of the fact that it's pulling away.
There I am right there.
This is what we're looking at now. Clearwater at 23 mile per hour sustained winds, gusts in the 30s. 20 at Tampa International Airport.
I'm back.
About 30.
TPA,
Welcome back, Ricky.
want to go ahead and try and get open today. Those winds are doable. They're not going to do it right away. They got to get planes back in here. So it's going to take a while. If you're expecting a flight out here on Friday, the morning ones are not going to be working very well. The afternoon ones are going to get bumped. So you're going to have some issues. Call ahead. Just let the guy. I don't know much about the airport, but I can tell you about the weather, and it is getting better for them.
It's going to be a mess all the way, up to Atlanta, Charlotte, all those airports.
28 in Lakeland. I say only because we just haven't seen as much inland. 28 mile per hour gusts.
Air travel is going to be a mess for at least a week.
The forecast for the gusts continue to drop.
Some resilient people live there.
5 o'clock in the morning, and then once the sun comes up, we'll see those wind gusts really starting to come down. We'll call it, it's windy right now, right? But we'll just call it kind of breezy by the time we get towards the middle of our Friday morning. And some sunshine. Yeah, we'll actually get some sunshine through the mix out there. It's going to be a warm, breezy, muggy day. Trying to see if we can get a little bit of dry air in here because it's wrapping around on the back side, but I don't think we're going to get too much. So the tides, here we are. We've passed our low tide. We're coming up on high tide. Did we get there? What time is it right now? We're just about there. But the water is still up here, right? And it's starting to come back down. Just now starting to crest in many of these locations. And
it's out in the water.
Most of these numbers
where it's higher, and it's coming in in waves.
We've never seen that much water.
Washing up over everything.
You haven't, but I guarantee
it's not
you
hitting
go back and look at all these forecasts.
That's what it is.
About as much water as
out a little ways in the Gulf.
So that's why it was so important to heed all of the evacuation orders. These are the levels as of midnight, and this is that graphic.
That's how much higher
it shows you the difference between what we
saw.
How
much higher it is out in the Gulf,
6.6 in Clearwater, and what the previous, and I can say previous because we broke all of these records.
Probably the first
except for I think Fort Myers, and that's not on this list, and that's just because they had a big one with Ian. But you can see Clearwater 6.5, a little better than that. That beat the old one by 2.5
Cedar Key,
feet.
9 foot.
East Bay,
a little over 9 foot.
Over 7 feet. That beat it over 2 feet. Port Manatee, 6 feet. And these were at midnight. And what this little star means is that it hadn't crested yet. Most of these have now actually crested, but the number is going to be a little bit higher than what you're actually seeing right there. St. Pete at 6 feet, 0.29 inches.
The higher that is out there, where they measure that,
from 1985,
the more comes in and over the walls.
97 feet. So that's what I'm saying. When I've never seen that. Yeah, absolutely. But the forecast for St. Pete, 5 to 8, right? 5 to 8, and that stayed. Once they set that, they bumped up Pasco just a little bit. But then after that, they just basically held everything right in that line. And that was a good forecast from the Hurricane Center from the get-go. All right, this is Clearwater Beach. That is what we want to see. See it starting to come down right there? See what it should be? Yeah, but that's a good sign that it's cresting there. So it is starting to come down. Then you get up towards basically St. Pete, very similar. We finally saw St. Pete start to crest and kind of at least flatten out. It was tough to do that. But it didn't end up doing too much. I'm sorry, Kyle, I didn't see you saying that.
I'm talking about they're not showing too much what's south.
Let's back up.
Below us.
Please. There we go. Let's clear
down there to pull up through.
We have a St. Pete one in there. There it is.
Feeder bands could last for quite a while.
I got to check it right now, but you can see right at the top in the major flooding, by the way, it actually kind of topped out right there, and it's starting to come back down. Now, here's the tides through midday, and they're not going anywhere. Technically, it's a high tide. There's another low tide right there in the middle, but it's not much lower at all.
He's saying
and then the tide comes back even more. So we're not losing tidal water at all, but we are going to lose all this surge from the wind. All right. There's the bigger picture. We still have our tornado watch in effect.
If I can bring in 2 pictures.
Yeah, I'm glad you moved it over, Terry.
See what old Max is saying.
Do you hear me, Terry?
That I do. What's up?
I said I'm glad you made it over.
Right?
I'm not sure if they'll be retrieved or not. We'll have to wait and see sometime tomorrow or the following day.
This is South Carolina.
Hopefully by tomorrow. If not too busy, I'll send your next package out to you, Ricky.
tornadoes there.
How about you, Carrie? Would you like any peaches or pineapples or freaking sour blue raz?
What's the power outages? Let's check it out. Let's give it a gander.
He ain't talking can good.
1.77 million people without power now.
No.
A lot of people actually lost power up here in Nassau County. I'm surprised. Duval
A
County
lot of
also
times
lost a
they
lot of
just
power.
shut it down. They shut everything down to keep damage.
A lot of people lost power up there.
Keep
Georgia
the
is at almost 200,000 without power.
transformers from blowing and
Mostly the
things
southern
like
side of
that.
the
They
state.
just shut the whole system down.
Yep.
And they'll bring it back gradually. Usually within a day or two.
Yep. Some preppers will they'll go through their power system and they'll
I
shut
think a
off
lot of
everything
systems
except
probably
for
just close
just
it
the
down
barest
and
thing.
shorten them out.
And that's how they'll run their power box. Even when they switch their generator on, that's how they'll run it. And then even when they go back to normal
64
power,
people
because
maybe in
what they're
Atlanta
doing
that
is
are
they're
without
trying to
power.
keep the power load
That
off
might be the
the city.
number. I don't know which county Atlanta is though. Maybe it's this
I
one.
see
No,
Max up there in the
7,600
corner.
maybe. Some isolated power outages up there.
That's a money-making dude right there.
Fulton County, gotcha.
Woohoo.
Well, guys, I think we're about status quo
Starting
now.
water spout offshore, approaching Beaufort,
Getting tired, Carrie?
South Carolina.
I think I'm going to call it a night.
Already.
That sounds good, Carrie. It's awful late, buddy. I appreciate you coming on.
Right? I'm glad you made it through the storm.
Yeah, me too. Pretty much out of the woods now, I think.
Thank God.
You shave your beard off, Carrie?
Got anything to say, Ricky?
Did you shave your beard off?
Carrie, can you hear us?
Turn your mics up so I can hear you.
I said, you shave your beard off.
I think the biggest thing is just wind.
I don't think you can hear it.
You there, Ricky? I can't hear you. Anybody there?
Can you hear me?
Everybody go to sleep on me?
No, we Oh no, he didn't shave it off.
Okay. Well, good night. Good night, everybody.
All right, good night,
every one of you. Let's all stay
Yeah,
safe.
good night.
Good night.
All right. Have a good night, Ricky.
I talked over you, Terry.
No, it's all right, Carrie. You take her easy, bud. You have yourself a great night. Stay safe.
Yeah. I'll cut all these streams off. Whoop. Okay, everybody. Good night. Y'all come back. We'll see you next time. Adios.